Hola, you nasty people. Welcome to the VŌC Podcast. I hope you like it. You better.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this brand new episode of the VŌC Podcast. Today, I'll be interviewing professional voice actress and singer Cynthia Farrell, whom you guys might know best as the voice of Catalina from Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Thank you so much for coming on, Cynthia. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great, Ronald. Thanks for having me.
You know, I'm really glad that we could finally get this scheduled, and I'm so happy to see you. Well, not in person, but there's something similar here we got going on.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to ask the first question, and it's about acting. So, when did you get into acting? Tell me.
You know, it's interesting for me, the combination, or when I started acting and singing were at the same time. And I would say when I was 7 years old, I saw an acting teacher to train for an audition for Annie. I'd been singing since I was 4. It was just, I'm one of those people, you know, who was born with a love of song and singing and the delivery of a song. So by the time I was 4, I was performing for my parents. But the acting started when I was 7, and I had to figure out how to read lines, who characters were, how to bring them to life, how to make them meaningful to me. So yeah, when I was 7, I would say.
Wow, I mean, that's really fascinating. And, okay, I mean, you mainly do voiceover, yeah? So, when did you get into voiceover?
You know, I was 20 years old, and I had come to New York to go to NYU for musical theater. And I was in a musical theater class with a good friend of mine who is a very successful voice actress. Can I name her?
Sure.
Her name is Annie Kozik, and I love her dearly. And we were in a musical theater class together, and she grew up in Mexico City, even though she's not Mexican. And she said, I speak Spanish because my mother is half Mexican and half German Jewish, really. But and she said, "Oh my God, you speak Spanish. Why aren't you doing voiceover?" And I was like, "Isn't it really hard to get into?" She's like, "Well, if you speak Spanish and you speak a Spanish from Mexico, you have an entrance because they need neutral Spanish, especially on the East Coast." For a lot of the national spots because they don't want an accent of any kind. And here in New York, we have the Dominican population, the Puerto Rican population, many South Americans, and we do have Mexicans here too. But in terms of the acting pool, we didn't have as many Mexicans. So I said, great. And Annie taught me the ropes, and she introduced me to Elsie Stark, who is the queen of Hispanic, Spanish language voiceover and other things. An incredible woman, very successful. And that led to my getting an agent, and I was my foot was in the door with the Spanish stuff.
Yeah.
And then that turned into the Anglo stuff, and on camera, et cetera. So since I was 20, I've been doing voiceover.
Wow. I mean,
long time.
I think that's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah, was that too long of an answer?
Well, not really. I mean, I think it's a pretty decent answer. I mean, it's interesting to listen to for sure, because I think it's interesting to listen to how the people of that generation or generations before, how they got into this, how they got into voiceover, because, in this generation that we have going on now, I mean, you can do anything online. You can sign on to these pay-to-pay sites, and, voiceover, I think voiceover is, not simple these days, but it's easy to do voiceover for someone or whoever, they might require it, I thought. And so I wanted to ask, I didn't know that you were also doing a voiceover in Spanish. But now that I know, have you done any Spanish audiobook narrating?
I haven't. A full-length, in Spanish only audiobook, I have not. But the same thing applied, well, I suppose the answer is no. However, I would say, I was going to say a majority, but a good chunk of my work, and especially the initial work that I received, was because I was hired for titles that needed native Spanish spoken, either in dialogue, names and places. They didn't want a gringo, saying
Yes, of
Juan
course.
Gabriel, or,
Yeah.
I did a lot of Isabel Allende, who, as we know, is, her books were translated.
Yeah.
But you still have a lot of names and places and dialogue,
Yeah.
but not full-length Spanish titles, and I would love to.
I mean, I'm to my knowledge, you specialize in audiobook narrating, right? I mean, I see you often advertise these audiobooks that you usually narrate. So, you, as someone who has been working in the industry for so many years and done so many audiobooks, I listened to some of your work, by the way,
Thank
and
you.
I was wondering, because a lot of people say the pay is not really good. So I was wondering if you could say something about that, because oftentimes you do these narrations for 10 and more hours, a lot of times. So we were wondering how usually is the pay and how is the process of recording all that?
It's an excellent question, and you're talking about 10 finished hours, which probably took, I think it's 2 to 1 as a professional, two hours to record one finished hour. And so often if you're just starting, or if it's a very difficult book, or you need to
Oh,
do
yes, of
research,
course.
it's 3 to 1, 4 to 1. So the pay, it's funny. You're right. It's on the lower scale, given what I could earn from a Neutrogena commercial, which takes me 45 minutes to do in a studio,
Yeah.
which is going to be, possibly 10 times what I'll earn or more on an audiobook. You wonder, well, why would you do an audiobook? Just try to book commercials. Why waste the
Mhm.
time? And I've had very successful voiceover actors say, oh, God, no, I'm not doing an audiobook. I can't. I don't have the patience. I'm not touching those. But I think many of my fellow narrators will agree when I say, once you realize you have a hold on the craft, and we're always working and learning and trying to be better. I don't think any of us ever feel like we are where we want to get, where we want to be. We're always growing and working. So I say this prefacing it that way. Once you figure out the craft and that you can do it, and maybe you get some accolades for it, and you have fans who like your work, or authors who are grateful to you for having read their books the way that made them happy or the way they heard it, you're in. I mean, you have found a niche and you want to keep doing it. And the pay, it sounds crazy because we all have to survive, gets put on the shelf for a second. I'm really proud of having learned this craft. And every day, every hour I am recording, I am questioning my performance or my delivery, or is she this way or is he that way, or should I go back into... It's a constant... it's constant work, which I think I love, and I think my peers love. It's just quite a craft.
That's what I wanted to say, that, I think at one point work may become enjoyable. And, I mean, acting is a phenomenal thing. But, I mean, in audiobooks, you don't act a whole lot, or at least when you narrate. So, how does reading books become enjoyable?
Narrating them or reading them? I know
Well,
we use the word,
I suppose both. It's kind of similar. I mean, but in your case, narrating them.
Well, here's the thing, Ronald. You really are acting them, because in a given book, a fictional book, of course, you have 10 to 15, 20 characters, and we have to understand who those characters are. And somehow, we're one person, right? So how can we possibly distinguish 10, 15 different people?
Yeah.
Men, women, children, old people. You have to figure out how to bring them to life and distinguish them from each other. The female register can only do so many things in terms of a male sound, right? A convincing male delivery, right? And then so I do think you are acting. I think the really great narrators are phenomenal actors. I know I'm always trying to give it my best acting delivery. I'm one of those singers. I remember the actress who won the Tony for Maria in West Side Story, in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. In her acceptance speech, she won the Oscar. She said, it took me so long to say I'm an actress, because she's a dancer primarily. I wouldn't go that far, because I've been acting while singing for most of my life, but I would call myself a singer first. And I think that helped in my audiobook career, because you need the vocal chops, the stamina, the diction, the tone.
Yes.
Excuse me, as I cough. But so there is quite a lot of acting going on. And then the nonfiction is a whole other science, so to speak, because that's not simply read either. That has to be engaging, and you have to understand your material and have, bring the listener in. Anyway, I'm really long-winded. I like this topic.
No, that's okay. For me, it's interesting to listen to you talk about this, because I don't really have any friends, or I don't know anyone who specializes in audiobooks. And so it's interesting to listen to you talk about it, and how the process goes, and how the payment is, and how all that is coming together. And it's just really interesting to me. And I'm sure you have fans who enjoy your work. And I listened to some of it as well, and I was impressed. Because you really have the kind of the narrating voice. I suppose you really have that kind of great audiobook voice, and I think that really fits. Yes.
Thank you so much for saying that.
There's something else you have a lot of fans for, and it's a video game, and you don't usually discuss it. I haven't seen you anywhere discussing it, and so I thought I'd ask. GTA, Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yes.
So tell us a bit about it, and how you got cast, and how were the recording sessions, or tell us anything. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. And you're right. I haven't really been sought out to talk about this role. But of course, the game happened a while ago.
Yes.
But I suppose it's still relevant.
It is very much relevant, Cynthia. You have no idea how relevant it is to this day.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. A matter of fact, I think a year ago, a definitive edition of those games were released, with some enhancements. But apparently it was pretty bad. But anyway, these old games came back in pretty much the same form they were back then, and your voice was there too, and it was just great to listen to.
Thank you. Would I have to buy the game to find that? They were sold.
You wouldn't have to buy it, only if you like to play it. But I suppose I could send you some links on YouTube where you could see that.
I love it. I should know the answer to this. I wish I could tell you, I lined up with 10,000 people for the role of Catalina. It wasn't that at all. And I believe Rockstar was really just starting out-ish. I hadn't been following them, but they had a big loft downtown Manhattan. I don't know where they are now. Sure I could find out. I'm sure they're probably in the city or all over the world. Anyway, can ask my agent. My agent, literally, I was with Abrams Artists and walked into our vocal booth, and just like every other day of the week, hey, we've got this video game script here. Can you just, they want a Hispanic accent. Yeah, she's a Puerto Rican gangster. Go. I hadn't read it, right? I'm like, all right. And I kind of conjured a little bit of Rosie Perez. Do you know who that is?
I don't, but that's a good information to know who you sort of based off the character of, because I had a question like that here.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. And of course, I'm from LA, so I know Chicano sound. Not Puerto Rican, but that I learned in my life in New York, right?
Yeah.
And here I was cast. So I kind of gave it this aggressive, higher pitched, what you know I did because you've heard it.
Yeah.
And I booked it. I was almost 9 months pregnant with my first child.
Wow.
And they're like, no information, no script. Yeah, you're going Monday at 10 a.m. Here's the address. It was in Soho. I'm like, okay. I assume it's going to be like a few pages. They hand me a 2-inch, script.
Yeah.
Didn't read it. I
Yeah.
guess you probably have played the game. How much dialogue I had, right?
Yeah.
No
lot.
idea who a lot. No idea who the characters were. The owner of Rockstar was on the other side of the booth. I'm like, hi, I'm literally sweating, super pregnant, huge, in this teeny booth. They're like, all right, page 1. And I wung it. I don't know if that's going to disappoint everybody, but of course, I know what this person is. I had seen enough movies, read novels, met enough women in New York, cool, tough, urban, feisty, Puerto Rican or Dominican or Island or South American woman. So I know this persona. That's the only reason I could do this, because I hadn't read it, like I said, and did not stop, no breaks. Maybe I used the bathroom once, had a single glass of water. 2 hours later, I had done all her dialogue.
Wow.
And had no idea this was going to be an important game. I don't know if you want me to tell you on air what I made, because let's just call it a pittance. But at the time, no residuals.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have, I don't know if we do now because I haven't done a lot of video games since, great union rules to dictate what people made from video games.
Yes, of course.
So, barely anything. Went home, and then over time found out that the game became important. By the time I did San Andreas, and you can tell me, how many years later did that come out?
Well, to my knowledge, just like 3. 3 years later, yeah.
Okay. So they're like, oh yeah, you're going to do the next game. I'm like, okay, great. Similar recording session. It was only later that, probably because I don't follow video games, I was starting my family. I had a second child at this point. Didn't record San Andreas pregnant, but I joke with my oldest, Maud, was in my belly when I recorded 3. I joke that I traumatized her somehow in your utero by recording Catalina with her inside me.
Wow.
You know what she says in the volume in which she speaks. But yeah, so years later, I found out how important these games were, and didn't look to capitalize on this role. My first cabaret act did refer to it, because by that point, this is now in my first cabaret act was like 8 years ago. I knew that it was important, and I had people leaving messages on my YouTube videos.
I've seen those.
Have you seen those?
I've seen those.
They're
All
so funny.
of your videos are full of Catalina comments. Like the whole page of the comments is just Catalina comments.
It's so funny. I don't know whether to cry or to be like, wait a second, I need to meet all these people that know me because of Catalina. Seriously, I just want to send them all a message and say, thank you, and can you please come to my show in February at the Triad? It's a lot of people. So my 18-year-old daughter is like, Mom, do you know that you have 2 million views on this like clip that someone made of all your Catalina dialogue? And I'm like, are you kidding? So I'm really flattered. I mean, really grateful. I wish, I don't wish anything. I'm very flattered, and I guess they liked the character.
We loved the character. So your daughters know of the character in the game, yeah?
They do, and they're not big gamers, but their guy friends are, and they're like, your mom was Catalina.
Oh wow, that must be like a wow kind of moment.
It's really funny. It's really funny. So no,
Yeah.
I'd love to do more for Rockstar and more video game.
We'd love to see you come back. We'd love to see you come back. But I've seen you had another credit. I think you were voicing in a Batman game, and I think you did Oracle. I'm not sure what do you remember from that time. I haven't played the game, but I know that you were in it. So if you can tell anything about that, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and that must, I don't know if Ronald, you've done this research, that must have been within the same time frame. I know it was in the same handful of years.
Yes, that I know. Yeah,
Okay.
it was around that time.
So my agent at the time must have really had her fingers on the gaming industry, but that was a much more subdued session in a beautiful studio in Manhattan, and it was a much smaller script. Still no time to prepare. This must be the way they do these things. And I remember loving that role and wanting to do more. I don't know if it was Marvel or who's the other big company?
I think that's DC.
DC.
Yeah.
DC was Batman?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. But I know the role of Oracle was fantastic. I haven't played the game or heard people talk about it.
Yeah, it was a lesser known game, unfortunately.
Lesser known. But
And you never got back to voice Oracle again, unfortunately, either, so that would have been cool.
And yeah, did that game, were there part 2s, 3s, 4s of that game?
You see, I'm not sure, but I know there were a lot of other games involving Batman and Oracle too, but you know how it goes, they recast and they forget about you.
They do, and also, honestly, it's about your agent staying on top of, we have Cynthia. I see that someone's casting for Oracle again. Let's connect Cynthia with whoever that producer is now or director is now. So there's so many players. Agents are busy and they have so many projects. And, honestly, they say in actors, you're your best advocate. So I kind of didn't follow up on the video game thing either. Again, the pay is so incredibly low. And when you're filling your time with, what's going to pay, what's a great, piece of work. Taking that into account. Was there another Batman and another video game similar to, like another Marvel game?
I'm not sure because there were a lot of games, and to this day, games come out. So, they had a lot of chances to bring you back. I don't know why they didn't. I suppose
find out.
I'm not sure if it may have something to do with them being maybe based in LA or somewhere else. They only cast from around the area. I'm not sure, but maybe because, I'm not sure if you know any of these actors, but people like Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, all these bigger known voices, they are based in LA and they get more work. I'm not sure. So, yeah, unfortunately.
I think you're right. I just went to an Atlanta VO conference in April, and their speakers were from LA. And trailer work is really big in LA, movie trailer work.
Yeah.
The video game work is big in LA. And there's a lot of promo work in LA.
I think everything is more, available. A lot of more work is in LA, I think we should say it that way. You have a lot of audiobooks in New York City, right? But
True, yeah. The big 5 publishers, quote unquote, we call them, are here. We have theater here, which is why I'm in New York, or I would have stayed in LA, which is where I grew up. But I hightailed it out there because I wanted to work on Broadway. Matter of fact, I went to Boston first because I had a full scholarship for opera at BU.
Oh, wow. You went to Boston? Wow.
Boston for one weekend until I found out they didn't have enough drama and dance classes for my taste because I knew I wanted to go to Broadway. So I'd gotten into NYU, left to NYU, and joined their very new musical theater department at the time, and that was a blast.
Well, going on, so what's your favorite food and drink? It's from Mimi Candy.
Okay. Hi, Mimi. My favorite food would have to be, there's so many I love to eat, but ceviche, which is a raw fish cocktail that...
Wow.
It's really good.
It sounds good.
You're like, ew. But it's found in Mexico and Peru, in a bunch of a bunch of places, Spain. But it's fish marinated in lime and onion and jalapeno and all that, and it's just delicious.
Wow.
And then
I mean, it sounds good. I mean, I, as a fan of sushi, which is also raw fish, I mean,
Ooh.
I'd be happy to try it. So I'm not against it.
Well, if you find yourself in a South American country or in Mexico,
We'll see.
and my favorite drink, does she mean alcoholic or
Any
non-alcoholic?
kind. Any kind. Any kind.
Well, since I'm on the ceviche path here, I would say that my favorite alcoholic drink, and I learned to drink this when I was in Mexico, is a really beautiful sipping tequila, accompanied by a chaser of what they call sangrita, which is like a tomato juice and some hot sauce and lime and salt. It's just delicious. But yeah, otherwise, iced tea, classic female drink. Oh, I shouldn't say that. That is so not cool. But
The Mexican kitchen sounds so wonderful. I'd love to try it once. It's
I'll invite you to come to my house.
That's very nice of you. Once I find myself in New York City, for whatever reason, I'll be sure to stop by.
Please. I'll cook for you.
Thank you. Well, next question. Another GTA question, because of course, you have a lot of GTA fans.
That is so cool. How do I get in touch with all of them?
Well, it'd be cool to, I don't know actually how. We gotta figure out something. But it's from Matthias. And, I mean, I'm not sure, but the other actors have been doing mocap for this game. Have you?
No. Why haven't I been doing mocap?
That's a great question, because I have had another actor on, it's been a few months. His name is James Yaegashi, and I'm not sure if he is based in New York, I forgot, but I know he voiced a character and did the motion capture for him as well. And I mean,
Really?
of course, the main actor, a young male like Chris Bellard, who voiced Carl Johnson, the main protagonist, also did the motion capture. So it's interesting to hear that you didn't, and it's sort of unfortunate.
I wonder if they couldn't find me since I changed agencies from the first, but I think the first agency would have known how to find me if they'd contacted them. Can you tell me, Ronald, I should know the answer to this, why would those actors have done mocap if the video games were already animated and done, so to speak?
Well, honestly, I think at the time when they were recording the voice lines, I think they were doing the motion capture at the same time. So I'm not sure if they were recording separately in the booth. I doubt. I think they were all geared up and doing the scenes together, acting out everything. But then it wouldn't make sense why, when you were doing your parts for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, why you wouldn't be doing the mocap. That's sort of weird.
Yeah, my thought is that none of the actors had, anything to do with what was happening visually. I could be wrong, but I didn't think that was happening in those years.
I mean, it was a while ago, so I mean, yeah, it is surprising to me as well. I mean,
Okay.
but I would guess Catalina was, she also had like a motion capture actress, I'm pretty sure. I don't know who.
Maybe, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So you're
But
saying
it wasn't
did they do
you.
It wasn't me. Did they do mocap way back then, you're saying, or recently?
Yeah, I mean, they did it way back then, and that's
I
why it's
gotcha.
weird that you weren't doing it.
Forgive me. I'm sorry. I thought they did it later. Yeah, maybe because I was pregnant. I don't know. Or maybe they wanted someone who really looked like Catalina at that specific time.
Well, if I remember correctly, you said that at the time of recording for San Andreas, you weren't pregnant.
True, I wasn't pregnant. And I didn't look that different from the Catalina. As a matter of fact, I think I had short hair then.
I mean, I don't think it would really matter how you looked, because you'd
Oh,
be
true.
geared up, you know?
Right,
So-
right. I'd be geared up. I'm gonna call up Abrams and say, hey, how come they didn't need me for mocap?
Yeah. 15 years later, like,
Yeah.
hello?
Hello.
Why didn't they have me do this?
Exactly.
We have the next question from Realistic Location, and it's kind of connected to the recording sessions. How was the atmosphere and working for a big company like Rockstar?
Right. You know, they occupied this huge loft, and it was the beginnings of, non-enclosed offices, not having cubicles. It was almost like a big workstation, this huge loft downtown, and kind of raw. And my little vocal booth, it was probably smaller than the booth I've carved out of my home here. No bells and whistles, maybe a stool, and across the glass was I can't remember his name now, but one of the owners of Rockstar. An Englishman, right? I think it's an Englishman that owns it with someone else.
That might be true.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's Dan Hauser, but I
Dan.
might be wrong.
I think it was Dan.
Yeah, he doesn't work at Rockstar anymore, just so you know.
Oh really? Did he sell it? Because I thought he owned it.
He left, I think, the company, but I think his brother still works there because it was like two brothers working there.
Right, two brothers.
Yeah.
And I remember his energy was really high energy and very cool guy. He gave me some direction and then he was just like, go. But the room was hot. I think if I hadn't had experience as a singer, being in a booth, standing for hours hot, I probably would have melted because, like I said, it's quick. You're in and out, and commercial, I mean.
Yeah.
30, 45 minutes. But yeah, wasn't the most comfortable of situations and very little feedback. It's kind of like anything that I knew to put to my performance, it was all me. And then there was like, bye, thanks.
Oh, okay. Are you trying to say that they were unsure about what they wanted or they weren't specific enough?
I think they were relying on me to figure it out. Or they knew enough from my audition. And then, of course, they knew as I started the recording that I knew where I was going. They didn't need to give me any input, or so I surmise now, because they didn't give me much input. I mean, I don't remember stopping and starting. So, yeah, Catalina's really which is what makes me chuckle about her, what I thought she was based on the script. I mean, I could have given her a totally different, she could have been like a Puerto Rican, I think she's Puerto Rican, right? I've always called her Puerto Rican. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she is.
Okay, I could have given her a less aggressive, a less angry, a sexier, a softer. I mean, she could have been any number of things. Something in me and this page, because again, I didn't know much about the other characters, made Catalina what she is, which I now kind of am like, oh my God. I listen to her dialogue and I'm like, oh my God, I was crazy. But it worked, I guess.
Well, that's what makes VO so interesting, that all you get is like a page of paper and then you make it into a actual character in a video game. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to do that with audiobooks too. You have very little information about who someone is. Yeah.
And they don't usually tell you anything about the character except some basic information, let alone about the game's story. You know, and a lot of people think that you get told some backstory about the character and who they are. I'm pretty sure just get basic information. Nothing
It's
too
true.
much. You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky if it's a few sentences. There isn't a lot of training out there. Maybe there is right now or in very recent years for video game acting, which is very distinct, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done video game acting, and
Have
it
you?
is. Well, I mean, I suppose I have. Well, I have done podcasts and, well, audio dramas. So, I mean, I'm kind of getting into it a bit.
That's so great, Ronald.
Well, I hope you'll get some more video game work too, because, well, we need Catalina back, you know. And I mean, I have heard GTA 6 is in the works, so maybe.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So
let's
she
hope.
didn't die when I think Sofia Vergara did 5, right?
Well, actually, she did die. Well, Catalina died. You see, I forgot that.
Small detail.
Yeah, just a small one. I mean, if it happened to be a prequel, then she still could come back. You never
Ooh,
know. I mean,
that's
you know,
true.
it's funny because she died in GTA 3, and then like years later you did San Andreas, and that was a prequel to 3. So you know, you never know.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, if not her, I'd love to do someone else for Rockstar, other companies.
Yeah, I
But I,
mean, you know, would like to see you come back and do anything at all. I mean, you know, you just kind of disappeared from the video game screens, and we want you back.
Ronald, I'm so grateful to you for letting me know that and putting that light bulb in my head. I'm going to pursue it. Thank you
Please
for
do.
saying that.
Please do, please do.
I'm so flattered.
Last time when I had a voice of a GTA character on, I thought of an interesting idea, and I'm not sure if you'd be okay with it, but we acted out a scene from the game, and
Okay.
I gave him a script. Basically, it's like a short script from the game, and all you have is lines there. And I was wondering if you'd be okay if we'd act out a scene from the game, and you
I'd
would
be
be
happy to.
Catalina.
Yeah, I would be happy to. This is
It's been
so
a while since you've been in this character mind, so it's time to refresh it.
time to refresh it. Well, all right, I've read through and I'm just going to barrel in. I can't wait to hear your CJ.
Oh well. I'll try my best black accent and hope no one gets offended.
I love it.
All right, let's see. I suppose.
All right, you cue us.
Yeah. All right. You can start.
You had the unfair advantage.
Being a better driver ain't no unfair advantage.
You think you're clever? But it is you who is missing the point. Not only was he racing, but he was satisfying me. Fully. What are you gonna say about that?
The advantage of a stick shift, I guess. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, man, what is it? Cash or pink slip?
There you go. Goodbye, Mr. Johnson. I will not be missing you.
Hey, wait a minute, woman. What is this shit?
The deed to a garage in San Fierro. My lover needs his car so we can go to Liberty City.
Liberty City? Yeah, whatever. Have a good time.
I will.
Fine.
Okay.
Go. I ain't gonna miss you.
Goodbye.
It was so amazing to hear Catalina again. And I mean, you're still pretty much in shape.
Oh, thank you.
I
In shape,
have
you
to
mean
say.
vocally?
Yes. And I mean,
Yeah.
I suppose physically too.
You're very kind. Well, I'm older, and it's funny. I could hear my voice in a little bit of a lower register there. Of course, I could bring it up, but you're catching me at the end of a day of narrating. But yeah, I hear
That's
her a little.
okay. I think the fans are still gonna be like all over the top from hearing
Oh,
you again.
I'm so glad. Well, maybe we should ask the fans. One thing I've been suggested to do is to go to Comic-Con. Do you think I should do that?
You should totally do that. I mean,
Really?
I'm surprised Rockstar. I mean, guess what? Rockstar, at the time of the game's release, you know, the game was really popular, but Rockstar didn't ask any of the actors to go to any of the Comic Cons, actually. Not even the main protagonist. We're not sure why. But,
Really?
yeah.
And you've wondered as a group why, as a population, why?
I don't know. I mean, all the actors wondered too because, you know, in their later games, I'm not sure if it was Rockstar who asked their actors to go to these Comic Cons, but in these later games, the actors did go to these Comic Cons and they did become more well known. And you know, like the latest game from GTA 5 that came out in 2012 or 13. Gosh, and I mean, you
Okay.
know, the actors from there are probably the most popular and well known because they attend these Comic Cons and, you know, do like live autograph signings and all sorts of stuff. Meet up with their fans.
Wow. course, do the big celebrities? Like, I know Sofia Vergara was in 5, right?
To my knowledge, I'm not sure. I don't remember her being there, but let me see. I'm trying to remember who was in there. Well,
Or were they
mostly people from LA. So
Okay,
yeah.
but they weren't big celebrity names.
Well, I think there were some famous rappers there recently.
Oh.
I can't remember who, but I mean, celebrity names. Let me think. I don't think so. Well, not that I can think of at the moment. But
Maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong. Sofia Vergara did not play her. Something online that I found once. Maybe they were saying that Sofia Vergara is a like image to a Catalina type of a role, but she never really did it. Maybe I was wrong. But yeah, I wonder if Comic-Con would be relevant for me still. It's been a long time.
I think it should be. And you know what? I would suggest you to sign up to this application called Cameo. It's
Okay.
available on phone, and you know what it is? People can ask you to do shout-outs for them.
Oh,
Birthday shout-outs or whatever they want you to say. You know,
wow.
and they'd pay you whatever the amount they'd pay you, and yeah, and
Oh
you
my
would just
God.
record it, and yeah, I think it's a great deal.
Well, that would be great. All income is welcome. I'm a single mom, and I make all my income from being a performer. So anything helps. Cameo,
Yeah.
that's cool. Thanks, Ronald.
Yeah, make sure to take a look at that. All
I'll
right.
give you 10%.
I'm not sure. I think Cameo might take some of that percentage, but...
Oh, that's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I present you Cynthia Farrell. She's going to be singing Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell.
Thanks, Ronald. Bows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and they snow on everyone. So many things I could have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions that I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's love's illusions that I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud, and dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed, but if you lost and something's gained, in living every day. Oh, I've looked at life from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's life's illusions that I recall. I really don't know life. I really don't know life at all. I really don't know life. I really don't know life at all. So that's an a cappella version without my amazing accompaniment, so off the seat of my pants.
That was amazing, Cynthia. Thank you so much for blessing me and the fans with this beautiful a cappella. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Am I allowed to tell them I have my next cabaret coming out right
Please
after
do.
New Year's?
Please do.
In the city, my 4th show. So all of you fans who comment, come see me live. I want to meet you.
Yes. You know what? You know what I think would make you really famous? If you'd look for, if you try to dress up as Catalina and record like a video, and talking her language, talking in her character. I'm pretty sure that would really get you somewhere. With the fans.
Where would I put that video on YouTube?
Well, I'd make sure it would get in the right hands, and it would get the promotion it deserves, and it would get to the fans. Yes, to YouTube.
Gosh, I would love that, Ronald. Well, through your podcast, we'll start with you. I'll record it and I'll get it to you. How about that?
Sure. That's okay. That's fine.
Thank you for the push. Boy, I should have done this years ago, but I'm so honored to have met you and flattered and grateful to you and to people who enjoyed the character.
Well, I suppose we had to start somewhere, so I think this is a start to your, well, not career, because it's been ongoing for quite a while, but I guess this is the start. This is a new start to the fans. It's time to meet them. It's time to chat with them. And perhaps someone else will be interested in having you on for an interview, just like myself.
And you'll be the person I have to thank for it. Thank you. No, you're right. And I've been remiss. I mean, I sounded throughout the interview that I was like, oh, I didn't realize. I have realized through the years, later, but still I've realized through the years, and I've not known how to reach the fans or to get back into the world of GTA and to maximize on that presence. So these are great ideas.
Well, I just hope we'll be able to execute them the right way. And let's hope we'll get the attention that we want you to get. So,
you and me both.
There's one last thing I'd like to request.
Yes.
Do you think Catalina would have anything to tell the fans of the VŌC Podcast?
I would tell you that you need to watch the VŌC Podcast because Ronald Hamrack is the man. He knows what he's talking about, and he is gifted, and he's handsome, and I might just go out with him because nobody else is calling me lately, and Ronald is pretty sexy, so you better check out the VŌC Podcast, and if you don't, I'm going to kill you, and everybody I know will kill you too, so go watch the VŌC Podcast.